Hey guys, so ever since this past Christmas, I've been seeing a lot of ukuleles. Like, pretty much every open mic I go to, there's somebody there with a ukulele besides me. So I thought now would be a good time to do a little ukulele crash course video and just teach some of the basic stuff that helped me when I first started playing ukulele. Now I'm going to cover a lot of stuff in this video, so if at any point you feel overwhelmed, like it's just too much information, you can pause it and just, practice the things I just talked about and then come back later. Okay, so let's get a few of the basic boring things over with real quick. You need to learn what note each string is. The one closest to you up here, that's a G. The next we have going down, it's C, E, A. So G, C, E, A. It's very important that you memorize that. It's going to come in very handy later. So you can come up with a mnemonic device like like grandma, cooks, excellent, asparagus, or applesauce, or whatever. The strings can also be referred to by number, like the one closest to you, that's going to be the fourth string, third, second, first, and the first is the farthest one from you on the bottom, the highest string. The next thing you want to do, make sure you're in tune. I really like these little clip-on tuners. I think they work really well for ukuleles. Also, if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, there are tons of tuning apps out there that you can download for free. Or if you don't have a fancy pants phone, you can just use a reference note from a piano or something else. Also, real quick, in case you're not sure how to hold your uke, you can either do what I'm doing right now. I'm resting it on my right knee. I'm a righty. You can also kind of hold it by putting your arm over the center of the uke, kind of like this, and just kind of press it against your chest. If you have a really light ukulele, that's fine. You can stand up and play it like that. But if you have a really heavy uke, mine is like especially heavy, so I have a strap. If your ukulele has little buttons to hook on a strap, you can just put a strap on the ukulele and play it like that. But okay, let's get into some of the fun stuff. Let's learn a few chords. The easiest chord on the uke is going to be a C, and that is going to be the third fret of the A string down here. So you're just going to hold that one string, and for now let's just strum using our index finger. You want to try to play that chord with your ring finger, because it's going to come in handy later when you're switching to other chords. Get used to playing that C with your ring finger there. Next, let's learn an F. That's going to be the second fret of the G string up here, and the first fret of the E string down here. And when you play that, you want to make sure not to touch the other strings. Sometimes, your finger is kind of flat and it doesn't sound quite right. To prevent that, you want to make sure that your thumb kind of stays behind the uke like this, and you want to kind of use your thumb to swing around and hold those two strings. And notice how you can hear each string nice and clearly, and I'm not touching any of the other strings. So just kind of use your thumb and pivot around like that. Okay, next really common, important chord you're going to need is the G chord. And that's going to be the second fret of the A string and the C string. So take your two fingers, put them there, and you want to do the third fret of the E string right here. And notice it's sort of like a little, kind of like a triangle shape. You want to get used to that, get comfortable with it. Practice it enough so that eventually, it just becomes natural. Alright, so now that we know a few basic open chords, let's try a basic strumming pattern. Probably the most common one you're going to see is the strumming pattern. It sounds like this, like down, down, up, down, up. So without playing anything, it's down, down, up, down, up. And notice how when I strum, my hand is constantly moving, kind of like a pendulum or a metronome, just going back and forth constantly. That's what's going to help keep rhythm while you're playing. And notice when I strum, I'm not always hitting the strings. Like when I go down, down, up, down, up, sometimes my hand goes past the strings. And that's just to keep that pendulum motion. Down, down, up. Okay, put your ring finger on the third fret, play that C chord, and try to get that strum down. Just down, down, up, down, up. And once you get comfortable with that, let's try switching some chords while we're continuing to strum. So let's try going from a C, and then to an F, C, and then right there you're going to switch to an F, it's okay if while you're switching, sometimes you're not going to be able to switch fast enough to avoid just, hitting the strings like that. And that's okay. That's totally normal, So practice that for a little while, try to get comfortable with it. And then we're going to try throwing a G in the middle there. So let's try it again with the G now. So we're going to go C. And then remember our G chord is 2nd fret of the C and the A string, and 3rd fret of the G string there. The triangle shape. So we go C, G, and then from here we're going to go to F. Real quick, I just want to show you guys how easy it is, on a ukulele especially, to kind of mess around with the chords and add a little melody while you're strumming. Like, let's take something simple like a C. Like, go ahead and play a C with your index finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. And notice how, while you're strumming, you can add your ring finger to the 5th fret, add a little melody in there. Or if you want to even reach your pinky all the way to the 7th fret. Or you can take your G chord and throw your pinky in right underneath your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string there. Or even take off your middle finger there and just leave that string open. Or for an F, you can throw in that C note on the A string on the 3rd fret there. And you could take a few simple chords and just add a nice little melody to it. So, go ahead and take some of the chords you already know and try messing around with them a little bit, adding an extra note here or there, and see if it sounds good. You might find some cool little variations in there. And let's learn a few more chords. Some other really common ones. This one is in E minor, so we have the 2nd fret of the A string, the 3rd fret of the E string, and then the 4th fret of the C string. So it's kind of like you're making a little stairway up there, just going up one, and it's going to sound like this. And that's our first minor chord. Notice you can tell the difference between a minor and a major. One has that sort of sad sound to it. So get that E minor down. Next we're going to learn an A major, or an A. That's going to be the 1st fret of the C string here, and the 2nd fret of the G string. So it'll look like that. You'll notice it's very similar to an F. It's really just, one string difference. Like an F is here, A is here. Okay, and the next chord we're going to learn is a D. And that is going to be the 2nd fret of the G, C, and E strings right here. And you're going to leave this A string open. So you can try cramming all 3 fingers kind of right into that 2nd fret there. Or if you're having trouble like squeezing all your fingers into that little spot, you can use your middle finger, ring finger, and pinky like that. And just leave your index finger hanging out here. But really, the way you should be learning to play a D, which is going to help you out later, is you should try to flatten one finger over all the strings. So like, for example, take your middle finger and just kind of flatten it on all 3 of those strings there. Now remember, you're going to keep your thumb right on the neck of the ukulele there. And you're going to kind of pinch it, sort of like, you're using your thumb for support to apply enough pressure to hold down those strings. And remember, when you're playing, you should never see your thumb up here. You should never, you should never be playing a G like this, Your thumb is always back there, providing support. But okay, we got a D, you can use your ring finger too, middle finger, or all 3. Once you get those chords down, let's try doing that same strumming pattern we were doing before, but with these new chords. So, we'll take an E minor, and we'll go to a D, to an A. So So same strumming pattern as before. Down, down, up, down, up. Down, down, up, down, up. Okay, so we've got almost all our open chords down. Finally, just last few chords we're gonna need. We're gonna learn an A minor, which is a really easy one. Just take your A major and then get rid of your index finger. So you're just holding the 2nd fret of the G string. And that's your A minor. Next we have a D minor, which is the 2nd fret of the G string and the C string, and the 1st fret of the E string. You notice that one's actually very similar to an F. Like an F was the 2nd fret of the G string and the 1st fret of the E string. For the D minor, you just kind of squeeze your ring finger underneath your middle finger there. And last couple ones, gonna be a little bit tricky because they're new shapes. They're not really similar to the other shapes at all. You're gonna have a G minor. That's gonna be the 1st fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the C string, and the 3rd fret of the E string. So let's take a close look at that right there. I notice a lot of people have trouble remembering that one, but it's going to come in handy later, so definitely memorize it. Take your time. Pause the video if you have to. Take a break. Last one, another kind of unusual one. It's an F sharp minor. That is the 1st fret of the C string and the 2nd fret of the G string and the E string. Put your index finger right there on the 1st fret of the C string, and then take these 2 fingers, put them on the 2nd fret of the G string and the E string. That's going to be your F sharp minor. Okay, so that's pretty much all the basic open chords that you're going to need for now. Okay, next important thing I want to go over is adding a little flair to your strumming. We're going to learn a technique called chucking or scratching, which adds kind of little percussion while you play. And the way that works is, what you want to do is kind of use the palm of your hand or even a little bit of your wrist and make sure the palm of your hand hits the strings first, and then you follow with your nails, kind of like that. And it creates that kind of chucking noise. So let's try incorporating that to like a basic little tune. Like let's take the E minor, D, and A that we were playing earlier. Let's try adding a little percussion to that. So we'll try something simple like down, down, chuck, down, down, chuck. So take your E minor, D, A. E minor to D to A. Now let's take the classic strumming pattern that we were using before, and we'll try adding some chucks to that. So it'll sound something like down, down, up, chuck, up. So with an E minor chord, it would sound something like. And now we'll go from E minor to D to A. So let's try that, like down, down, up, chuck, up. And I know it's going to be a little hard to switch there because right after that chuck, you're going up and then switching immediately. So right there you're switching. Down, down, up, chuck, up, down, down, up, chuck, up. Okay, so now you know all your basic chords, you know strumming, you know how to throw a little percussion in there. Right now I would suggest maybe going, looking up a few songs that you like, trying to look up some chords for them, because really that's like the best motivator, just learning songs that you like. Especially because the next section of the video is going to get a little trickier. I'm going to start teaching you bar chords, which that's starting to get more into intermediate territory.